Hello, my friends. Welcome to PMP Exam Prep, Pace and Reasoning, Schedule Management. This is where we dive into situational questions and get a good understanding of what to expect on the exam. Now, because schedule is such a beast, I have a number of questions for you today, going into roughly 10, if not more. But we're going to go through them very quickly. So let's jump straight into the first one. You are a project manager on a hybrid project using a predominantly agile approach and in the process of decomposing work to be done. Which of the following is the largest size? Hit the pause button if you need more time. I will reveal the answer shortly. The answer to this is none other than Epic. The highest level in the Agile world is Epic. It may vary in some firms or some circles, but it's generally Epic. So remember the mnemonic. Phil eats fries sometimes on Tuesdays. That is product, epic, feature, story, task, in that order. Product, of course, is the biggest, followed by epic, followed by feature, followed by story and task. Keep that mnemonic in mind. Phil eats fries sometimes on Tuesdays. Let's take a look at the next question. You are planning how and when to deliver a product on an Agile project. Which of the following approaches would you use? Hit the pause button if you need more time. Let's examine the options. A. Use long cycles to undertake work. Review the plans and stick to the plan. B. Use long cycles to monitor work. Review the results and adapt as necessary. C. Use short cycles to undertake work, review the results, and adapt as necessary. D. Use short cycles to plan work, ignore the results, since the plan should be agile. The best answer to this, my friends, first of all, getting rid of anything that talks about long cycles means you are going to strike out two. You're going to strike out A and B. Then you're left with C and D. Taking a look here, we can see that option D negates empiricism. It says ignore the results. We don't do that in the world of Agile. In the world of Agile, results matter. That is what we use to inspect and adapt. So D is incorrect, and the best answer, my friends, is the one that talks about short cycles. This can be found in the Agile Practice Guide on page 91. Next question. You are in the process of establishing how to build a schedule, the policies, procedures, and documentation for planning, developing, managing, executing, and controlling the project schedule. Which results do you expect to receive from this process? Let's review the options. Hit the pause button if you need more time. There are certain things here that are not a result of planning how to build a schedule. And the things that you don't get from planning how to build a schedule are, you don't get the schedule. The project schedule comes later. You don't get the schedule baseline. That comes later. It's not as a result of planning how to build a schedule. You don't get schedule forecast. That comes as a result of controlling the schedule, which happens later. So the best option, my friends, is C, the schedule development approach. You can find this on page 180 of the 6th edition. Let's move on to the next question. While decomposing the project work into tasks, which of the following rules should you observe? It's a rather technical question, so I'll give you time to think about it. Let's examine the options. Is it A, control account should be at a higher level than planning packages? Is that correct? Think about it. That does sound right. Okay. Let's take a look at B though. Work packages should be at a higher level than planning packages. We're going to eliminate that because that is not correct. Work packages are at the lowest level. C says planning packages and work packages should be at the same level. That is not true. We'll cancel that. And D says activities should be at a higher level than planning packages. That is also not true. So the best answer here is option A. You can find this on page 161 of the PMBOK Guide 6. Let's take a look at just a few more. This is a very big area, it's very robust, and there's a lot of technicalities. So I'm asking you some of these additional questions to make sure that you do not negate the technicalities involved in schedule management, because they may come in handy on a question or two. Which relationship is this? All right. So with this image, it's very straightforward. You always start off from where the arrow originates. If it originates from the left of the box, that's the start. And then you look at where the arrow is going. If the arrow ends up on this side of a box, that is the finish. So this is a start to finish. In other words, A must start before B can finish. So the answer is a start to finish. That is why the answer is C. It's subtle, but that's it. Here's another one of a technical nature. I don't expect you to get things like this, but as a project manager, you should be able to tell what the duration of this project is. It's common sense as a project manager. All right, my friends. So, when you see an image like this, what is on the arrow negates where the arrow is originating from. So this is showing from A to B. However, it's not a finish to start. It says start to start. So you should imagine that it's really more like this. Okay? If it's like that, then you have a situation where you have two overlapping tasks, one of 12, one of 6, like that. So this is actually 12 because it is a start-to-start relationship and they are overlapped. Okay, my friends, now we are done with a few of those technical questions, also exploring the world of Agile. Let's go into more situational schedule questions. Here's the first one that I showed you as we rounded up our last session. As a project manager in the information technology hardware industry, you are leading an Agile project to develop a new product. During the execution phase, the project team identifies a delay in the procurement of critical components. What should you do next to address this schedule deviation effectively? Is it A, analyze the impact of the delay on the project schedule and assess potential alternatives to mitigate the delay? Is it B, communicate the delay to project stakeholders and seek their input on adjusting the project timeline? Is it C, collaborate with the procurement team to expedite the procurement process and minimize the schedule deviation? Is it D, update the project management plan to reflect the revised timeline considering the delay in component procurement? All right, you hit that pause button if you need more time. Now let's advance to the answer. there's some simple logic you should use when you come across a question of this nature. It's in essence saying you're leading a project, there's a problem, there's a delay. What should you do next? The next thing to do is not to immediately communicate the delay, which is option B. That is not the best thing to do. The best thing to do is to analyze the impact, option A. The reason why it's not C, collaborate with the procurement team to expedite the procurement process and minimize the schedule deviation, is because you don't understand the impact yet. So when you go to the procurement team eventually, you need to have your ducks in a row. And if you don't do a thorough impact analysis, then you don't know what to discuss with the procurement team. And that's why you need to be aware of collaborate with the team. Because collaborate with the team, even if it's on your end, you got to look out for what the question is asking you to collaborate about. Are we collaborating to analyze the impact, or are we collaborating to do something else that should come after we have analyzed the impact? So I want you to keep that in mind, okay? The project manager can make informed decisions after assessing the potential alternatives. Option C is not the best choice because it is premature, and option D is not the best choice because updating the plan should be done afterwards, after the impact has been assessed. All right, moving on to question 8. It reads, you are a project manager in the mechanical engineering industry leading a project to design and manufacture a new industrial machine. During the execution phase, the project team identifies a potential delay in receiving key equipment from a supplier. What should you do next to manage this schedule risk effectively? A. Initiate a risk response plan to address the potential delay and develop a contingency plan. B. Collaborate with the supplier to expedite the delivery of the key equipment and minimize the impact on the project schedule. C. Analyze the critical path and dependencies within the project schedule to assess the potential impact of the delay. And D. Communicate the schedule risk to project stakeholders and seek their input on adjusting the project timeline. When you get a question like this, the first thing you want to do is eliminate the things that are not right. Off the bat, we can see that communicating the schedule risk to stakeholders doesn't make sense. It's a risk. First of all, it's not an issue. Second of all, you've not even analyzed this enough. You know that there could be a delay, but what can that do to your schedule? It said potential delay, right? But how severe is this? What else could it affect? So you first of all need to take a look at this risk and analyze it qualitatively. Maybe in some instances you would do a quantitative risk analysis. So D is not the best option. Let's take a look at C. Analyze the critical path and dependencies within the project schedule to assess the potential impact of the delay. Now that's not a bad thing to take a look at your schedule, because in looking at the critical path, you are answering the question, how could this impact the overall timeline? Will it delay the project end date? So it's a good question to ask. So we're going to keep that in our back pocket. Let's go to option B. Collaborate with the supplier to expedite the delivery of the key equipment and minimize the impact on the project schedule. Well, while that is good, you don't really at this point know the impact on the project schedule. So you've got to take a look at that first. When you understand the impact, then you'd realize, oh, there's actually no impact. Then you may not even need to do anything. So B is a little bit presumptuous. B already thinks, oh, there's going to be an impact and we need to do something about it. But if you read the question very carefully, identifies a potential delay. It didn't say there's a delay happening right now. There is a potential delay. So you got to be proactive. But what should you do next? It's not to immediately say, hey, can you deliver this quicker? You see, you got to think impact first, then you know what to collaborate about. Option A, initiate a risk response to address the potential delay and develop a contingency plan. So this talking about a contingency plan already sounds a little bit down the alley of, I know what the problem is, I know how long this is going to delay us if it happens, but you don't because you've not done your impact analysis. So the best answer, my friends, to this question is option C. By analyzing the critical path and dependencies within the project schedule to assess the potential impact of the delay, the project manager can prioritize tasks, allocate resources accordingly, and proactively manage the schedule risk. Now, what you're seeing is that whole theme of impact analysis, and it is so important. You always want to think, have I done my impact analysis? All right, let's move on to the next question, number 9. As a project manager in the financial and banking industry, you are overseeing the implementation of a new banking system. During the execution phase, the project team identifies that certain tasks are taking longer than planned, potentially causing a schedule delay. What should you do next to address this schedule deviation? I'll give you some time to think. All right, now, my friends, let's take a look at the options here. A, review the project management plan and update it. It's not a bad thing to do, but as you've seen from previous questions, this is premature. So you can immediately get rid of it. B, assess the impact of the schedule delay on the project's critical milestones and deliverables. Okay, what about the non-critical milestones? Now you understand what a milestone is. A milestone is a zero duration event. It's not a task, so don't interchange the words. When you're focused on critical milestones only, you're going to negate the non-critical milestones as well as the critical tasks and non-critical tasks and non-critical deliverables. So B is rather shady. We're going to keep that in our back pocket, but we're going to see if there's something better. Let's take a look at option C. Reallocate resources and adjust task assignments to expedite the completion of delayed tasks. This is rather presumptuous because it has summarized that the problem is a resource one. And that doesn't necessarily follow. There could be sufficient resources, but something is holding the team up that is outside of their control. See, certain tasks taking longer than planned could mean maybe approvals aren't happening quickly enough. This is in the banking industry where there could be a lot of red tape. We don't know. So it's presumptuous to say it's resources. So we're not going to go with that. Let's take a look at D. Conduct a root cause analysis to identify the factors contributing to the schedule deviation and develop appropriate corrective actions. So this is really an analysis of why is this happening and what impact is it having on the schedule is implicitly woven in to develop appropriate corrective actions. You can only develop corrective actions when you understand what is being impacted. So, my friends, taking a look at B versus D, B does not help me find the root cause. It just looks at the impact. It doesn't assess the root cause, and it also doesn't offer any corrective actions. Just taking a look at the impact on the schedule and saying, oh, this is what this could do to the schedule. It'll throw us up by 5 weeks. And remember, it's only looking at critical milestones and deliverables, which is the greater reason why it shouldn't even be on par with option D. It's clearly an inferior option compared to D. But instead of offering solutions, it just says there's a problem, we're 5 weeks late, but it doesn't offer corrective actions. And that's what we should do to address this deviation. We should understand where is it coming from. We should understand what is it hidden, but how can we correct it? So the most conclusive option, my friends, is D. I know some of you struggled with this one, but it's okay. By conducting a root cause analysis to identify the factors contributing to the schedule deviation and developing appropriate corrective action, the project manager can address the underlying issues and take proactive measures to bring the project back on track. All right, my friends, you've done really well, but we have one last thing we always do on this program. What we do on this program is take a look at an abnormally long question that is possibly an option that you might see of this length. You may get questions of 4 lines long, 5 lines long on your exam. So we're going to take a look at one of those right now, and here's your question. And it reads, you are working in a hybrid project environment on a state-of-the-art technology project involving many different entities and stakeholders. While the work is drawing to a close, an important change is requested by a definitive stakeholder after a thorough impact analysis. While this change is needed to solve an urgent issue that could affect business continuity, it will extend the schedule and increase the project cost. Your team members are complaining about this development. What should the project manager do next? A. Mentor the team to understand the importance of being agile and implement changes. B. Coach the team to be more compliant and implement the change. C. Submit a change request. D. Communicate the impact on the budget and schedule to the change board. I'll give you some more time to think about it. All right, my friends, let's take a look at the options. There are some options that may sound right, but they are inherently wrong. First of all, it says an important change is requested. So we understand that this change is being requested by a definitive stakeholder, someone that has power, urgency, and legitimacy in the confluence. If you remember what a definitive stakeholder is, we have those three circles, right? Power, urgency, and legitimacy. And right here, where there's a factor of power, urgency, and legitimacy, that's where we have a definitive stakeholder. So this is a rather powerful individual all the way around. They have power, you got to urgently attend to them, and their involvement is legitimate. So we're talking about a very significant individual. So what is the next thing to do? Even though mentoring the team to understand the importance of being agile is important, it is not what you would immediately do next. Why? Because it says implement changes. You don't do that immediately. Mentoring the team is important, but it's not what you're going to jump up and do. And you're also not going to immediately implement the change that is being requested. So we're going to cancel option A. Option B says coach the team to be more compliant. That word is a draconian carrot and stick sounding word that doesn't go down well. Again, it says coach the team and implement the change. Whether you use mentoring or you use coaching or whatever, those are good, but those would be done in developed team on a different timeline. It wouldn't come in the middle of you attending to this request, but at the same time, you wouldn't implement the change because it said an important change is requested. So you wouldn't do that. So let's cancel that. Let's take a look at the last two. C, submit a change request. Who do you typically, as a project manager, submit a change request to? Higher powers, right? Change control board. It could be a portfolio review board, portfolio steering committee, and entities like that. And that sounds sensible because it said, while this change is needed to solve an urgent issue that could affect business continuity. Oh, business continuity? That's huge. But it will extend the schedule and increase project costs. You know, as a project manager, that is not in your jurisdiction to immediately approve and do, which is why A and B don't sound right. Okay? Now, taking a look at option D, communicate the impact on budget and schedule. Only budget and schedule? This is talking about business continuity. There could be a huge impact on the organization. So just letting the change board know, hey, this could affect the budget and the schedule is not a good enough option. It's only half of the story. you need to submit that change request to the change board with everything that normally goes with your change request. Also remember that this change is not one of those that is within your jurisdiction as a project manager typically. So communicating impact on budget and schedule, it doesn't really do enough. They need that change request. They need to understand the full gamut of things. So D is not a very good option because it negates the impact to the entire business. So a change like this, if not done, will cripple the business. It said it is needed to solve an urgent issue that could affect business continuity. So, my friends, the best answer to this is C. When you have competing options, you always need to ask the question, is this a complete idea or is this weak? And in this case, A and B were good-hearted, but the wrong timing and not legitimate, because you can't just go ahead and do those changes even though they could affect business. You need to get the higher powers involved. Okay, so the best option here is C, my friends. I hope you found value from these, and I hope they made you think, because that's what it's about. It's about getting you to think and getting you to understand how this exam is. The exam is a beast. It has a lot of questions. Many of the questions are choose 2. Some are choose 3. I heard at least 30 could be choose 2 or 3. So I need you to be at highest efficiency, which is why they are difficult questions, as promised. Schedule is a beast, and you can see the questions I gave you are a combination of many. If you're looking for a boot camp to boot you into shape for the exam, where you cover everything needed for the test from the outline, go on down to hpmexam.com. We might have one coming up very soon, depending on when you're watching this. And if you're looking for training materials and help and books and content, go on down to Praizion.com, your one-stop shop for project management education. Thank you very much, my friends. I wish you all the very best on your test. Take care and bye for now.